Police in India have arrested one of the country's most prominent and respected fact-checkers for a, quote, highly provocative tweet. Mohammed Zubair is co-founder of fact-checking website Alt News. He and his colleagues are at the forefront of fighting fake news on social media with facts. He was arrested on Monday evening for a tweet from March 2018, a tweet that was sitting around on Twitter for 4 years before someone complained and police thought to take action. And joining me now for more is political commentator Ashok Swain. He's also a professor of peace and conflict research at Uppsala University in Sweden. Ashok, Mohammed Zubair was the one who initially highlighted a ruling BJP spokesperson's derogatory comments on the Prophet Muhammad, and it eventually led to wide diplomatic condemnation from the Muslim world. Is Zubair's arrest payback?
Yes, it's sad, but it is predictable because the present Indian government has this way of targeting its critics, those who criticize its policy, its politics, or corruption, or whatever is going on. If anyone is a critic, they don't take it lightly. So they usually try to put all sorts of ways to silence it. And I think this is a part of, so that's why I say it's not surprising. But I think we need to realize that when the critics also come from the minority community, the actions or the reactions or the payback become extremely severe because that, in one sense, it works towards silencing others to raise their voice. And the other voice that also it helps the regime's own supporters happy.
Talk to us a bit about the work that Zubair and his colleagues are doing at Alt News and the place that Alt News has in India today.
You know, for the last 8 years, there have been there have been some fake news always, but for the last 8 years, there has been no restriction on even the top leadership of the countries giving statements which do not really is the reality. I mean, there are lots of fake news all around in the world, and India has been very badly affected. And this alt news, which came in after this started in India, this kind of fake news stories. So it is a couple of people starting this and trying to find. I mean, they were critical. They are not only correcting or they are bringing the fact checking to the regime or the ruling party, but they're also fact checking the opposition leaders too. But of course, the most of the fake news was coming from the ruling party and its ruling party supporters, and they were doing the fact checking, and that was really brought. That was also being covered by some of the Indian journalists, I think, and also internationally, and that made them quite a target of the present government.
Ashok, I'd like to get your perspective on the wider attacks that civil society in India is facing. But first, I'd like to offer our viewers a few examples from just the past 4 days, beginning with what happened on Sunday, where a tweet by prominent journalist Rana Ayub was withheld by Twitter after a request to do so by the Indian government. Now, she had tweeted about an ongoing dispute to do with a mosque that Hindu nationalists claim was a temple. Ayub routinely faces online harassment and death threats from right-wing trolls due to her investigative work. And then a day before, on Saturday, police arrested well-known activist Teesta Setalvad in Mumbai for allegedly committing forgery and fabricating evidence. Her arrest sparked protests in Mumbai and Delhi. Setalvad has campaigned for 2 decades for justice for the victims of the 2002 Hindu-Muslim riots in Gujarat state. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who led the state at the time, was implicated in the killings. Setalvad's arrest came after the Supreme Court rejected her petition challenging the clean chit given to Modi. Ashok, I'd like to come back to you on this. Now, is the Indian state essentially at war with civil rights activists?
Yes, I think it has been, it is not new, it has been for some time. The Indian civil society, which was the pride of Indian democracy for the last 3 decades, have been partly silenced, partly being accommodated within the ruling party majoritarian structure. But I think most of the people, those who have been from the civil society, have raised their voices. They have been put into, in all kinds of problems or troubles. All sorts of cases have been taken place. Most of the civil society leaders, they can't even come out of the country. They don't even possible to get the funding from outside, which is they were doing engaged in. So there have been a number of actions have been taken against the civil society within India, and the threats, those kind of online threats are quite common. It has been for some time. I mean, it is for a long time. But the question is, it's the it is the online threats when it comes from particularly the government. It makes it much more problematic because many of these police officers in different parts of the country directly threatening the kind of the people, those who are civil society activists, trying to bring out the truth or whatever they think the truth to the people.
Right.
So the free speech is being carved in all sorts of manner in the country.
Now, it was here in Germany only at the G7 yesterday that Prime Minister Narendra Modi signed onto a statement on, quote, guarding the freedom, independence and diversity of civil society actors. Does this pledge ring hollow with everything we have seen in the past 4 days and everything you have just told me?
Absolutely. Not only last 4 days. If you look at it, the last 8 years, this doesn't make sense. India is the leader in the world to silence the internet. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, then there have been many of the people, those who get threats. I live in Uppsala, Sweden. I also get every day, not only me, anyone who is connected to me, my colleagues, my superiors, they also get threatened because of my, I raise voice against what's going on in India. So I think it is somehow look at you mentioned the arrest of Tista Setalbad day before. But there have been people, those who have been, we know that there was a anti-Muslim riot took place in Gujarat in 2002 when Mr. Modi was the chief minister of that state. And the people, those three people, those who had really brought this issue up and tried to give the justice to the victims, Sanjeev Bhatt, a senior IS officer, then Sri Kumar, another senior. Sanjeev Bhatt has been in jail for a long time now. Sri Kumar and Tista Setalbad, both have been. Tista is a social activist who has been at forefront of bringing justice to the people. They have been all arrested. So I think the number of people, those who have been arrested because of bringing it's not only, you might have had a person called Stan Swami, who 80 years of old person who was even arrested and he died in the jail. So there are a number of activists, those who are really being suffering at the hand of the regime because they are trying to bring truth to the people.